Good day and welcome to the September plot tour. Two things. A, I can't believe it's September. Where has the year gone? B, I can't believe quite how cold it is at the moment. I know I've said this in a week at the plot, but it really does feel like October to me. And the plot feels later than the beginning of September. I know that our squash patch, our pumpkins, are generally dying back, and they're uchiki kuri mainly, and they die back earlier. But I just feel that everything has really picked up on the fact that it's now autumn, and it's saying, you know what, we're not going to get any more sun. We're going to choose now that we're not going to carry on growing. And yeah, things are dying back. Beans are beginning to die back. The leaves are beginning to die back. Things are being watered because we need to water because we've had so little rain over the past couple of weeks. So there's a lot of watering going on. But you know what? Yeah, it just feels like the beginning of October when I look at the plot rather than the beginning of September. And certainly at the moment, it's grey skies again. You know, it's been grey skies for ages. Yeah, I was talking to a fellow trustee of Social Farms and Gardens last night, and he lives just, I think, about half an hour's drive outside of Edinburgh. South of Edinburgh, maybe half an hour, maybe 3/4 of an hour, I'm not quite sure. And they had 25 degrees yesterday. We had 18. You know, I mean, that is such a disparity in temperatures. And it's usually the other way around. You know, usually Scotland is colder than the south of England, but not in August and not at the moment in September either. But anyway, hey, it's the plot tour, so let's get to the corner of the plot and you can see what it's looking like yourself. Here we are at the corner, and yeah, it's looking mightily autumnal to me. I mean, hey, it is September now, it is meteorological autumn, so maybe that's okay. Still a few cabbage whites fluttering about, but not that many actually. It doesn't seem to have been a great year for butterflies. Anyway, I was going to start on here the other day, pulling this further back, getting on with the clearance in this area. We do have a squash coming out, but I thought I could avoid it, and then I found 3 frogs over there and 1 frog in here. So I've decided to wait until they go into hibernation and then sort this area out. Those rhubarb need to go in. That bamboo is just going to be left in its pot and put below ground, so it's going to be sunk, but it's not coming out of its pot because that bamboo is quite invasive, so it will stay in its pot. But those rhubarbs need to go in. I don't think we'll get a great harvest from them next year, but the year after. Even the cardoons seem to have given up the ghost quite early this year. Most of them have flowered and gone over, though they do continue to look quite spectacular, I think. I rather love them anyway. The rose is flowering, as you can see, and the stinging nettles, which we let grow for wildlife and also to use as a fertilizer, as a feed. We make it into a liquid feed. That is clearly beginning to go over as well. Might as well just have a look here. I think this squash that you can see in this area is a Oregon homestead sweetmeat, and it's making its way in there. Can you see the stalk in there in the middle? There are a couple of fruits on it, so we'll see what happens. But look how that cardoon, look at those leaves dying back. Wow. Right. We've still got some sweet peas on the hedge here. Look at those. They're still rather pretty. And some nice seed pods here, which we'll collect from. Right, coming over to the Brussels sprouts and the squash patch. As you can see, we've got uchiki curry in here. Those are the orange ones. Really quite small. But you know what? They'll be fine for baking and for soups. I think there's about 10 in there. Not very big, but there we are. However, the Brussels sprouts, I mean, you can clearly see Brussels sprouts forming. I've stripped the leaves off at the bottom. But yeah, the Brussels sprouts are doing fine and looking good. Now, these haven't been covered at all. We use the Grazers liquid spray for keeping cabbage whites off. And in fact, we've had very little damage from caterpillars this year. The damage that you do see is largely from snails. Sorry about that. Look, 3 in there. Come on, don't want you in there. Oh, I've disturbed a spider over there. But yes, these are all doing well. These Brussels sprouts all are producing. Not sure what that blue is in there. Fox must have brought that in. This is one of Vivi's squash down here that she gave us. And I think you can just see through. Can you just see through there? There's one of the Oregon Homestead sweetmeat. Not a great year, but we'll have some. There's another one just in the middle there. I thought there was one over there, but maybe not. But yeah, I mean, the good thing here is the Brussels sprouts. They're doing well. Let's move back up here. This is marjoram, I think. I was saying it was thyme. I'm sure it's marjoram. In this area, look, more snails. We've got rock and core beans. These are a later sowing. More snails. These are a later sowing, but you can see, well, you can't actually. You can see that they are developing, and we'll be picking those. And over here, I've got a couple that I'm leaving for seed for next year. This plant here, which was doing well, it's now being attacked. And this one over here, I'm leaving those for seed in there. But we are beginning to pick those. They were a late sowing. Then we come to our peppers. This is a Morrison's yellow long. Nothing coming there yet, but you never know if we get this hot weather that they are forecasting. But what I have noticed is here, these are Vivi's paprika peppers that we got, that she gave us as seeds, and they have started producing. There's a plane going over, as you can hear. These are the orange bell from Vivi. Nothing there. It's been funny. We've had so many flowers, as you can see. I mean, so many flowers, but hardly any fruits have set. Hey ho. That bed was our mange tout and broad bean bed, and has now been cleared and forked over to a fork's depth. It's going to need more remedial work because there was so much sankfoil, and particularly sankfoil, which you can see there growing again, and some bindweed as well, but particularly sankfoil. Okay, you hear about rookie errors. There's also people who've grown for years errors, and this is mine. I put in these brassicas, not really expecting much to happen. They've started growing, but as you can see, they've been attacked by birds. Hungry birds at this time of year. I mean, you know, ridiculous. So I will be netting these. Oh, I almost fell over then. I will be netting these today. In fact, I put the bottles in yesterday and I'll be moving them to the edge and just netting this bed. Then in this area you can see the turnips that we put in a couple of weeks ago. They're growing quite well. And then in this area here we have 3 types of beetroot that we sowed last week, I think it was, and they've germinated well. They are still young seedlings, obviously, so we're making sure that we're giving them a watering each day so that their roots do not dry out, because if they do, they will die. Moving back, look at that bean wall. But you can see what I mean at the bottom here, how these leaves are all discoloring. Even at the top, look, the discoloration on those leaves. The plant is beginning to die back. We have lettuce here, which we've just started harvesting, which is great. And we have this lettuce, which is the Amish deer tongue, which we've let go to seed, and I'll be collecting seed from that. So you can see these little white fluffies are containing the seeds. Got Vivi's celery down here, which we're harvesting from and popping into leaf salads at the moment. These are the Tarbay beans, which I know, well, Tarbay is this side, but I know this is a Tarbay bean because the Canadian whites, which look very similar, which are this side, are just slightly different. They're slightly more slender. Sorry, you can't see that. They're slightly more slender than the others. Where can I find some? There. So yeah, I know which are the Tarbay and which are the Canadian white, but actually most of these are being left for harvesting as demi-sec beans, as in the bean inside the pods, rather than eating as a pod. Butternut squash that we were given, one has set and is developing. It's about as big as my hand now. That's great. Our carrots, no doubt about it, an absolute success for us this year. Let's just go in there. Okay, that one's a bit oddly shaped at the bottom, but you know, very nice carrots. These are Nantes. Just drop them there for the minute. Then we have ones here that you can see which are white. This is Luna White. And then here we have London Market, which have a redder top to them. Again, fabulous carrots. Parsnips, doing fine. Not as many as I'd like, but the shoulders are beginning to form in there as well. So that's great. And then here we have 2 types of amaranth. This is a volunteer one from last year, and this is a tree spinach that we were given. And what I thought, look, it's lovely. Look how the leaves, can you see? The leaves get a colour, and it's the same colour as the flower. I think that's lovely. Look at the colour in these blueberries. Again, it seems quite early to me to see them like this. There's our brassica bed. Well, a brassica bed. We'll come on to that in a minute, but it's looking fine. Right, let's go down and just have a look at these beans. Got Madeira Maroon here, which are fattening up nicely. Again, another bean that we use the seed of rather than the whole pod, though when young like that, it's a fabulous pod bean as well. This year I've really tried to go for beans that are, or in this area here, beans that can be used as a pod and can be used dried or demi-sec as well. These are the Golden Gate, and you know what, these have been the revelation this year. These are all now being left at the bottom here for seed saving, for both eating and for growing next year in particular. They're beginning, that one's not, but they're beginning to fatten up a little, you can see. Such a great bean. And this is how they form originally. They come to this sort of lime green colour, and then they go to a yellow or goldeny like that, and then when they go over they go to this sort of pale colour. Fabulous bean. Considering that we had really poor germination from these, we've had an absolute glut of beans from them, and more to come. Then we have Shaz's Scarlet Emperor runner beans in our sort of Heath Robinson contraption to hold them up, having many of the bamboos broken in winds about 4 weeks ago. I'm picking these, but again they're being used for the bean inside the pod rather than the pod itself. Those, I think we'll pick these for pods later to eat as pods, but generally, as I've said before, the Scarlet Emperor runner beans we use as kidney beans over the winter months. Right, so this bed was our tomato bed 6 weeks ago, and then we had blight. What was that? The beginning of July actually, and all the tomatoes came out. I weeded the bed and I put brassicas in. These are the dazzling blue kale. You can see that spine on them. Here is Nero di Toscana, so you can see how different they are. That's got a white spine. Those have got a purpley blue spine. And then over there is the Portuguese cabbage, which we adore. But you know what? We need to pick these. I mean, that's a really fabulous leaf. What's that? That's 2 foot long and about not a hand span wide, but really, really great leaf. Where the Portuguese cabbage, let's just go over there. There's the Portuguese cabbage leaf. There's my hand. So you can see how big that leaf is. And that's how most of them get. Huge. A couple of those is brilliant for supper. I've uncovered these and I'm going to cover them back up. In fact, I'm going to do that now because there are a few cabbage whites around, so I am going to cover them back up. But the net that I've got at the moment, I've got 2 of these, but I've only got one on, and it gets to the ground here, but it doesn't cover them over here. So in the next couple of days, I'll be putting a single net. So this net will be a single net down here, and I'll have another net that covers the Portuguese cabbage down there. But yeah, I'm just going to put you down and cover this up, or cover these up. All tucked away again. which is great. Lots of tidying to do. I've tidied the shed a little bit. Still much to do, but yeah, a little bit. I've cleared this bed, cut it right back. I've tidied up those troughs there. So there's Jax's trough and the daffodil trough, and also these freesia troughs. My chair here has finally gone. It's we inherited this 4 years ago, and yeah, it's gone. That will be recycled or bonfired at some point, most probably, if it does last till November, for our bonfire night on November the 5th. Oh, look at this wasp. It's washing itself. Oh, can you see? No. Oh, it was washing itself. It was doing its antennae. Yeah, that's the flower border bed. Mostly gone over now. A haven for insects, though I think a bit of tidying up is needed. I won't be tidying these because I know they're homes to certain things. The fruit bed, again, harvested now and all uncovered. That again needs a good tidy. We've got lots of wildlife in this path, so I'm not cutting it back at the moment. Helder and bird's egg horticultural. Now these are Helder, long ones, great as a pod. We're also keeping some obviously to grow next year. And then in here you can see the bird's egg horticultural, which look very much like borlotti. And in fact, to me, I think these are ready to pick. Look at how fat those are. Yeah, I forgot that the bird's egg were a borlotti style, but that's great. Our sunflower, lovely. These are the Luce de Ottono broad beans that we put in as an experiment because of the seeds that didn't grow because of the inhibition that the sunflower was giving out, though clearly these are growing. It wouldn't surprise me if they did the best of the Luce de Ottono we've done. A few more beetroot in here, and the kale, though so much water is needed in this area. Seems really dry. Ponds need tidying down here. Look at these fabulous seed heads from the iris. Okay, so the squash in here is one that's self-seeded, and not surprisingly it seems to be doing the best. There is quite a large one. I'm not sure if you can see. Don't want to go in there because it's sort of over there. I'm not sure if you can see, but as I say, there's lots of frogs and stuff in there, so I don't want to go in there at the moment. The raspberries that we planted, these are autumn harvesting raspberries. You can see that they are producing. There won't be much this year because it's their first year, but you can see they are producing. Look at those shield bugs. Oh, nothing on the josterberries here, but I am thinking that this josterberry, which is sort of gone wild, I'm thinking I'm going to take cuttings from that, take it right back to that growth down there. Can you see that growth there? And then use this for additional cuttings. Yeah, I'll do that in the weeks to come. More Portuguese cabbage. These we're just leaving to the wildlife, hoping that these will be the ones that they eat rather than our others. Our main crop potatoes, nothing harvested there yet. I'll show you that in a week at the plot when we do. That ceanothus, still haven't sorted out the bindweed on there, but you know what, that's going to be a later autumn job now. And that ceanothus really does need a good cut back as well. Beans, more beans, though I don't think we've got any gigantes in there. I think that's mainly Madeira Maroon and is it Helder again, I think? I need to weed this bed. I had a look at the corn and I've decided I'm just going to leave it because it has done very poorly, actually. Unlike our neighbours, that has done incredibly well. Right. This has our Colleen potatoes in it. We've harvested here and up to there. Still to harvest is along there and up there. And these have been a revelation for me this year. Just fantastic. Strimming needed. Yesterday I pricked out more Portuguese cabbage. These aren't going to be all for us, but they've gone into modules and some will be given away. These will be ready for sort of starting harvesting in the hungry gap, fingers crossed. Asparagus, I need to sort those out. Various other plants there, dahlias and other things. Right, if you watch a week at the plot on Planet Vegetaria, you'll see the tuneful cucumber that was eaten right through, which we looked at yesterday. And these are Vivi's cucumbers, and they are producing so well for us. Really, I mean, well done, Vivi. Look at that. In there, nice, more coming there. So those have been great for us this year. Better outside than in the polytunnel. Right, let's just go over there and have a quick look. You'll remember I was talking about the golden yellow courgette at the back and the Aurelia at the front. I've left these Aurelia in, and the reason I did that is because I thought if I leave them in, because they were being attacked by slugs and snails, it might deter slugs and snails going for those, and that seems to have happened. There are pickings to do, as you can see. These golden yellow will definitely be on our list for growing next year. Oh, I can see there's one that's got away from me. Look. Oh. Yeah, need to get that out. There's more courgette and potato soup. Some lovely flowers. I think these are zinnias at the front. I think they are. And the California poppy has started giving again, which is lovely. Started doing tidying here. I've cleared this patch. And I'm going to make some feed out of that comfrey there. But yeah, more work to do here on tidying, but you know, that's fine. That's fine, I've got the time. And I found a dog lead. How bizarre. The apple is looking a bit sorry for itself. Yeah. Right, let's pop into the poly briefly. I cleared the melons, cucumbers and tomatoes from here the other day, or a couple of weeks ago. Planted autumn king carrots, and hopefully you can see germination across all 3 rows of autumn king carrots. What I am doing is using organic slug pellets in here. It's a closed off environment, so I'm sort of hoping that no hedgehogs or anything else get in here. There is a frog in here, but the frog seems to be quite happy. It's actually moved over there to the right of that cupboard. But yeah, these are doing well. But what I don't want is I don't want these munched by slugs. So I am using, as I say, the organic pellets. Though I did read an article this morning about organic pellets, which I'll talk about in a week at the plot at some point, because it's not great news. This has been tidied up. Bottles which will be used for holding up nets. But yeah, that's the winter polytunnel really. And then if we turn back, as I said last month, this is a site we wouldn't normally see because we'd have the tomato frames and the tomatoes growing up them at this time of year. But obviously the blight took all of that away. Well, blight got hold of it and I took all of them away. Lots of tidying. I'm not sure what it is this year. I've had the time, but have I had the mojo? I think I've lost my mojo quite a lot at certain points this year, and things have got away from me. I mean, I also work very closely, or I don't want to do things that are going to inflict any sort of harm on nature. So really, what I should be doing is that path where I said there's lots of frogs. I should be keeping that clear. But what I'm hoping is that the frogs will keep the slugs down, but maybe they won't. Anyway, we've got fabulous potatoes, we've got fabulous cucumbers, we've got fabulous carrots, we've got great beans. We got some squash coming along, and we got great courgettes. So actually, and we've got lettuce. Yeah, not bad. Not bad for what I'm sort of thinking is the beginning of October, even though it's actually the beginning of September. Right, I will leave this September plot tour here, and I'll see you again on a week at the plot very soon. Bye.